We're back, we're naked, and we're ready to party.
You're not really naked, are you?
Not physically, but here on the Naked Party Time podcast, we get real and raw about life, leadership, and love. So what do you say? Are you ready to get naked?
Let's do it.
As one of the 10 commandments, is it really okay to try to Sabbath but fail? Like thou shalt not kill, but oops. That's one of dozens of amazing questions we received and will be responding to as we begin a Sabbath series of question and response episodes in episode 60 of the Naked Party Time podcast. Welcome back, or welcome for the very first time. If you're watching us on YouTube, hello to you guys there. Here on the podcast, we get real and raw about life, leadership, and love. My name is Jeff Manis. I am your host, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, my podcast partner, my Sabbath soulmate, my wife, my best friend, my queen, my podcast helper. Didn't have a good one for that one. Sabrina, how you doing? Wearing your Christmas sweater today.
Yeah, I know. Look, if you can see me on YouTube, it's got a llama on it and some cactuses and glitter. We got a hot date tonight, so
Yes, we do. We got Christmas date tonight.
I'm dressing up for our Christmas date.
Recording this on a Thursday afternoon. Going on our Thursday night date tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Going to watch a best Christmas pageant ever.
Yes.
We're going to the Christmas train in Alvin.
I know. I'm excited.
You excited?
Mm-hmm.
And you're wearing your
I know.
ugly Christmas sweater. I might have to put one of mine on.
Yeah.
My Bucky's one, maybe.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Be a good match for you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should wear matching sweaters.
Oh, mine's at church, though. I got to
It's into my closet at church,
yeah, I
isn't
got to
it?
get that out of your office.
Would you wear? Oh, because you were there for the staff
planning,
Christmas
yeah.
planning meeting. Well, we just got back from our Thanksgiving trip. Hopefully, all of you out there in listening land or watching land had a great Thanksgiving. We were on a very long road trip. How many hours did we drive?
56 hours.
We drove total, it was for there and back,
Yes.
total of 56 hours to go to Watertown, New York and visit our daughter, Michaela, and our son-in-law, Sam. We were there for Thanksgiving. Had a great week.
Yeah, it was awesome. We
So
had
glad
so
we
much
went.
fun.
It's kind of funny because last time we drove there when she moved there after getting married, we drove her stuff there and back, and we said, we're never driving this again. And what did we do? We drove it again.
And it was fine.
It was great.
I drove a total of 1 hour.
Yep, I drove 55
Because
of the 56 hours.
Somebody is a control freak.
No, I'm a servant. I didn't want you to have to drive.
Oh, you wanted me to be the passenger princess?
Yeah. Oh, I should have added that to my titles for you.
I'm the passenger princess.
Passenger princess. I struggled for some names for today.
See, that would have been a good one.
I could have done Christmas sweater soulmate. Although I hate the term soulmate.
Could have.
I got to think of some new ones. So I can't repeat them.
Yeah.
Although I always say some the same, like podcast queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I am. So.
Part of the reason why we drove was because we wanted to go to Niagara Falls.
Yes.
So we took Jada with us, and we drove the first day. We drove to Niagara Falls, Canada, and stayed the night on the Canada side, and then viewed the falls from the Canada side that next day, it was awesome. There's like maybe 20 people at Niagara Falls that day.
It was cold and rainy, but
It
I
made
don't
it
know
great for us.
if people still make bucket lists, but if you have a bucket list, you need to add Canada side Niagara Falls. I could have stood there all day. Like, it is just, I don't know, mesmerizing.
Yeah.
And the sound was amazing.
Need that outside of our house.
And we could see the falls from our hotel room. So when we got to our hotel room that night, it was all lit up. Yeah. And I'm so glad that we did that. And then we got to see a lot of cool stuff, even in Michaela's town or the town right next to it. I love the history in upstate New York. It's so cool.
Yeah. We were there, and our son-in-law, Sam, is stationed there in the Army. He is currently now deployed. So he deployed 2 days after we left. So we were very thankful to see him. Yes. And we were there for the beginning of the lake effect snowstorm that literally has pounded upstate New York and Erie, Pennsylvania area.
And more is coming.
More's coming now. Like when we were there, I mean, they'd
I bet
already
we got a foot
yeah.
of snow when we were there because we left at Saturday 3 a.m. and we had to drive through some pretty bad.
There was probably, for a stretch, there was probably 6 inches of snow on the highway.
Yeah, that hadn't been plowed yet.
We were going like 30 miles an hour for a while. But then once we got about an hour south of Watertown.
But we did have to change our route because
the highway interstate was closed.
Yeah, we couldn't go back the same way we came because I-90 was closed. So we had to go a completely different route, which we ended up seeing states we'd never been to. So we actually drove through, counting Texas, 13 states.
Yep.
And Jada was so excited to add new states to her list.
Yeah, even though she didn't step foot in some of them, she just slept through them.
Like Maryland, she slept through West Virginia, she slept through Pennsylvania, she slept through.
Well, I'm not on the way there. We got out in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
On the way back, she slept through it.
Yeah.
That's because we left at 3 a.m.
Yes, it was very.
By the time we got to Virginia, it was normal wake up time practically.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a snowball fight.
Yes, that was fun.
It was fun to see the snow. It was just another reminder. I don't care to live in it.
It's so weird.
It is
because
weird.
when you
live in it,
like we lived in snow for 22 years. Plus, I lived in Oklahoma for 22 years, and we have snow. Not
that
like
kind of snow,
not like Wyoming or New York. But I mean, I've grown up with snow for, let's say, 44 years of my life. I love it, love it, love it. But then Jesus called us to deep South Texas, and now I live by the beach. And I didn't even know I liked the beach until I moved here. And I loved seeing the snow, being in the snow, but I could not wait. I think we were maybe in Mississippi, and we got out of the car, and it was 55 degrees and sunny, and I was like, this is what my weather. I like. Like, it's so crazy how it has completely changed, but I will gladly go visit it, but I do not want to live in it at all. I brought one pair of jeans that I was going to wear 2 times. I ended up wearing that pair of jeans every single day with leggings underneath them because it was so cold. I actually ran out of clothes because I had worn so many more layers than I planned to because we are now Texas weenies and can't handle the cold and the snow anymore.
Exactly.
I don't know how Michaela's doing it.
Yeah, we just got a video today from Michaela, and she was haven't had her dog out, which is a husky. She had Cal out, their husky dog, out for a walk. She was like waist deep snow in the park. Yeah,
taking him for a walk, and he was pulling her through.
That's insane.
I keep telling her she should get a sled, and she could just sit down and he could pull her everywhere.
You might be able to.
I know.
That'd be awesome. So anyway, we had a great Thanksgiving weekend. Took a week's vacation that week. And
it was awesome.
Got back Sunday night and hit the ground running this week. And the last time we had in-person services at the harbor, we did a Sabbath panel where we ended our series on Sabbath called Reframing Rest by doing live Q&A with a panel of people on the platform. And I said, any questions that get asked on the app that we were using that we don't get to, we will answer on our podcast. Little did I know that we'd get a lot of questions. And so we're going to start rolling through them today. And I've kind of packaged them in 3 different categories. Mm-hmm. We might end up doing 3 different episodes. Good news is we love talking about the Sabbath. Like, this is like my favorite subject. Mm-hmm. Bad news is if you don't really care about the Sabbath, you're going to get tired of these podcasts. But we're going to keep on doing them anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I broke them into 3 categories. Kind of theological questions, the theology of the Sabbath, practical questions or the practice of the Sabbath, the how-tos, and then the last one got a lot of questions on kids, family, and friends. Marriage, kids, family, and friends. Like, how do you Sabbath with that mix? And so we've got a section of those. I wanted to start off, though, with a question that came in that I thought was a great question, one that did not get thumbs up enough on the app that we were using to answer in the room. But I wanted to address it, just in case anybody's wondering. The question was asked, why didn't you have lay people, just regular church people, share? They may have insights that staff don't have. We ended up on the panel having only staff share. What everybody didn't know was we had a lay couple that was supposed to be on the panel, a blended family that with teenage kids that is seeking to practice the Sabbath. They had something come up late Saturday night, last minute, couldn't make it to the panel on Sunday morning. So we did have some lay people planned on the panel that were going to be there, but they just couldn't make it. Ended up being staff. Second thing is, we plan our sermon series weeks and weeks and weeks in advance. We plan our sermon series 15 weeks in advance. So 15 weeks before the series started, 19 weeks before the panel Sunday, we planned the series. The idea was presented to have a panel on the last in-person Sunday. And the issue is, I didn't know of anybody in the church who was seeking to practice the Sabbath in the way that we were going to teach it. I actually asked one of our staff members who leads a pretty large segment of the ministry in the church, hey, do you know of anybody in the church who is in your area of ministry who is seeking to practice the Sabbath? Couldn't name one person. So while there may have been some out there, there was no way for us to gauge who in the congregation is seeking to practice the Sabbath in the way that we're kind of teaching it and presenting it. All I knew were certain staff members and this one lay couple who I had connections with that I knew was trying to practice it. So that's why we didn't have lay people. I would have loved to have only lay people.
Yeah.
The problem is there's not many people who are practicing it.
Right.
I mean, you and I have visited a bunch of small groups since we arrived here, almost 3 years ago. Almost every single small group we visited, one of the main things they want to talk to us about is Sabbath. Mm-hmm. And so the vast majority of people here in our church and really in many churches aren't truly intentionally seeking to practice the Sabbath, again, in the way that we were teaching and presenting it.
Right.
And so that's why we didn't have lay people. We just didn't know of who was doing it, and it seemed as if there wasn't many.
Right.
So that's why.
Right. That's good.
Any comments on that?
No.
Okay. So let's jump right in. We're going to start with the theology of the Sabbath, and I would love for you to add any input along the way that you want to, or you can sit there and look beautiful if you'd like to in your Christmas sweater. You choose what you want to do.
Okay.
You've read through the questions. Some of them? Okay. She's not read through the questions, folks.
I've skimmed.
You skimmed the questions.
I skimmed them.
She's prepared.
I'm not prepared.
You're just going to sit there and look good.
Well, I mean, if the Holy Spirit nudges me, I'll say something.
Okay. Or if I nudge you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Here's the first question around just the theology of the Sabbath. Why is the Sabbath so important? Sabrina, why don't you share?
Well, I'll just look at what I have over here in the iPad.
Why? It's a great question. Why is the Sabbath so important? And I would encourage you, if you really want to know why, we talk about this in the series. You can go back and watch or listen to the series. The first Sunday, we really talk about this, about why it's so important. But a couple of things come to my mind. The first one is this, that the Sabbath is rooted into the rhythm of creation. Like, asking why the Sabbath is important to me is almost like asking why is gravity important? Gravity is important because it's part of creation. You cannot ignore gravity. You can ignore gravity, but it's to your own peril. And I said that in one of the sermons. You can ignore the law of the Sabbath, but it will be to your own peril because it is rooted into the rhythm of creation that in 6 days God made the heavens and the earth, but on the seventh day he rested. So out of the 7-day week, 1 day was created for rest. That seventh day, God said, was holy. That word holy means set apart or different. The other 6 days, there's only 1 day of creation God said was holy. It's the Sabbath day. Every other day, he said this was good. But the seventh day, he said, was holy, be set apart or different. So that, again, to me is why the Sabbath is so important. Another thing, in Mark 2:27, Jesus said the Sabbath was made to meet the needs of people, not people to meet the needs of the Sabbath. So apparently, the Sabbath was created to meet certain needs that we have. That we're not made to meet the needs of the Sabbath is made to meet our needs. It's a reminder of our freedom, that we've been set free by God. We're no longer slaves. It's meant to refocus us on God. Like, it's the only spiritual discipline in the Ten Commandments. That one's huge to me.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody could say that you must not worship other gods is a discipline because worship's a discipline, but really, we consider spiritual disciplines Bible study, prayer, fasting, generosity. None of those are commanded. Like, we're not commanded to read our Bible in the Ten Commandments, or pray, or fast, or give. We are commanded in the Ten Commandments to Sabbath. So, thoughts on that, why it's so important.
As you're going through all that, I was just thinking about, I became a Christian when I was 15 and up, and then we've been practicing this for 4 years. So 15 to 42. I've read my Bible many times. I've gone to church. I'm like, what was I thinking when I saw Sabbath and saw God talk about it? Because once God really shined the light on it, then in 2020, I highlighted all the verses in my Bible that talked about Sabbath, and it's throughout the entire Bible. And I'm like, how did I just not stop and examine that? And I'm just blown away that from 15 to 42, I was just clueless.
Yep.
And I'm like, I missed out on so much that God was trying to give me, and I just ignored him.
Yep. I think it's because in the Christian church, and if you would have read the questions, you would have known this is coming up. But it's because, just want to point that out. When I asked you if you were ready and you said, yep.
Well, I was working on a knitting project.
I should have been more specific. But it's good. What you said was good. I think it's because for many, many Christians, we kind of grew up or grew into the assumption that, I go to church on Sunday. That's Sabbath. It's the Lord's Day. And we go to church, and then we fill it up with other things, and we just called that Sabbath because we went to church. Mm-hmm. If we wanted to. We never saw it in the way that we did until 2020.
Yeah.
So, it is pretty amazing for all those years of life, missing out on what we've got to experience the last 5 years of our life.
Right.
And thinking about how life might have been different had we been practicing it all that time. So we could do a whole podcast on why it's important. Those are some quick bullet point things on why it's so important. And I truly do believe it starts with, it's rooted into the rhythm of creation.
Yeah.
Whether you benefit from it or not, it's another question. It's there. Every 7 days is the Sabbath. Every 7. One of every 7. And you can choose to engage it or not. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it is our choice.
It's a choice. Yep. So next question that I kind of put into the theological category, was the Sabbath made for Jewish people, making it a Jewish holiday, or was it made for all people?
That's a good question.
It's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I would again go back to Mark 2:27, where Jesus said that the Sabbath was made to meet the needs of people, not people to meet the needs of the Sabbath. So I think Jesus in that verse is saying the Sabbath is for all people, not just for Jewish people.
Why did Jesus say that? What's the...
Because it was in the context of the Pharisees accusing Jesus and his disciples of breaking the Sabbath by picking heads of grain out of the field. Because harvesting was considered work, which harvest is work, but picking the heads of grain as they're walking through a field, most likely it was on their way to synagogue. They picked heads of grain, ate them on the way. Pharisees saw it, said, "You're working." And Jesus made the statement that the Sabbath was made to meet the needs of people, not people to meet the requirements of the Sabbath.
Right, not to follow all these rules.
But again, I think it's significant that he's saying there are needs we have that the Sabbath was created to meet.
Yeah.
That to me signifies that this didn't go away just because Jesus became our salvation.
Right.
That there's still a need.
Practiced it.
Exactly. So anyway, short answer is it's for all people. But I would also say this, that the Sabbath was given before the law was given. So was in creation. It's already there. Then in Exodus chapter 16, which is before the Ten Commandments, God told the Jewish people that on the seventh day you are not to gather any manna. Gather 2 times as much on the sixth day. On the seventh day you'll be provided for. And then in Exodus 20, it was given in the Ten Commandments. So the Sabbath was there since Genesis 2.
Right.
It was commanded in Genesis 16 and then put in the Ten Commandments in Genesis 20. Again, I think it's just a sign that's there for all people, not just for Jewish people.
Yeah.
And then it was never considered, this is important to the question, is it a Jewish holiday? It was never considered a holiday. The Sabbath's considered a holy day, not a holiday. The 7 festivals of the Jewish people were considered holidays. They were celebrations or festivals, different than a holy day, like the Sabbath day. So the Sabbath was meant to stop, rest in, delight in, and worship the Lord, 1 in every 7. So I think it's for all people to stop, rest, delight, and worship. Again, we taught that in the series, but it was not made just for Jewish people. It was instituted through the Jewish people, but it's a gift for all people.
Right. That's good.
Anything you want to add there?
No.
Next question.
I'm learning some things. I think it just, I have, my comprehension is just so low. It's something I've struggled with my whole life. So it's just hard for me. Like when you put all of that together, like you just did, like with Exodus, I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. But I would not think of putting that all together on my own. So that's helpful.
It's hard to be as smart as me, Sabrina.
It is. If only I could be.
And as humble as me.
Yes.
Yep. My next book is going to be on humility.
Oh, good.
Yep. Humility and How I Attained It is the title.
I can't wait to read it.
Yep. Next question. Why has Sabbath been widely adopted by Judaism, whereas Christians have not seen it as a core part of the faith? This is what I joked about earlier, is if you would have read ahead, you would have known.
That's a really good question.
It's a great question. But again, I think, as we stated earlier, many Christians did adopt it, using air quotes, but they maybe lost the depth of it.
That's good.
And they adopted it by just saying, well, Sunday's our day of worship. We go to church on Sunday. And then we watch football or whatever it is. But it was not necessarily intentionally viewed as stop, rest, delight, worship. That framework of the Sabbath. And so I think a lot of them adopted it but missed the depth of it.
Yeah. I guess I was thinking, because I didn't start going to church till I was a teenager, and if I think about like our Sundays as a kid, we went to church, we ate lunch, and then we came home and everybody rested and took a nap. I don't know if the word Sabbath was ever used in my home. I doubt it.
I doubt it.
But it was a more restful day, and we've talked about this before too, but like the culture used to be shut down on Sunday. So it was easier to live a slower life and not consume so much on 7 days.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I know in my home, I remember the phrase "the Lord's Day" being used a lot, and that's not bad.
Yeah,
I mean, early on, like in the 2nd century or 3rd century, in the 200s AD, most Christians had switched from a Saturday Sabbath to a Sunday Lord's Day. They still viewed it as a Sabbath day, but we started using the phrase "the Lord's Day" because Sunday is Resurrection Day. And so I remember that phrase being used when I was growing up.
Interesting.
That Sunday's the Lord's Day, which is it's a great phrase to use. That's really what that's what the Sabbath is. The Sabbath is the Lord's Day. It's the day we're dedicating to the Lord to stop, rest, delight, and worship. But again, I think it was like a lot of Christians adopted it without benefiting fully from it.
Yeah, like diving
truly being
into
intentional with it. I do think that it was go to church, maybe take a nap. But again, there wasn't necessarily the intention. I think so much of Sabbath is just intentionality.
Yeah.
And
and planning for it.
Yes.
Like we didn't, I mean, Sunday just came around and you knew you were going to church and then you were doing nothing later, but like you didn't prep anything. So if you had to do stuff, like you didn't think about it.
Yep. Yep. Anything else?
No.
How often should the Sabbath be practiced? If you were going to decide how often would you say?
Every day.
Good. I'm glad you said that because that's exactly what I thought you would say. Sabrina could Sabbath 24/7.
Oh, man.
365.
Yes, I could. Sign me up. It means I'm just ready for heaven, right?
That's right.
I'm just ready to hang out with Jesus, do whatever up in heaven you do.
Yep. That is funny you said that. There's a theologian, Albert Barnes, who said I'm going to butcher how he said it, but basically that a Christian who is unwilling to keep the Sabbath is unfit for heaven. Like, whoa.
Yeah, that's kind of like,
Because again, this is where you see it from Genesis to Revelation. Sabbath is a pocket of heaven on earth.
Mm-hmm.
That the ultimate Sabbath rest is heaven.
Right.
It's eternity with Jesus, where we will be at rest, at peace, one with him. The Sabbath is a picture, a moment in our week of the reality of heaven. And so I love that quote by Albert Barnes, that a Christian who's unwilling to Sabbath is unfit for heaven. I mean, it's strong words, and that was written a long time ago, but
there's truth to
pretty
that.
profound.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty profound. So how often should it be practiced? I mean, if you're looking at it just strictly based on Scripture and the rhythm of creation, it's 1 24-hour period every week. 1 day a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's how often it should be practiced. I think that's pretty simple.
Yeah. You
Not
work
easy.
6 days, you take 1 day
Yep.
to Sabbath.
And I would also add this. The Sabbath is more than a day. It's a way of life.
Yeah.
That you have to slow down. This is so key.
Mm-hmm.
You have to slow down the other 6 days if you're going to truly stop on the seventh day.
Yeah, you do.
Like to truly stop, rest, delight, and worship on one full day, you have to slow down the other 6.
Yeah.
And
that's the hard part.
it is. That's why I do think it's the Sabbath is more than viewing it as how often or what day. It's a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
Your whole life changes when you Sabbath.
Right.
Ours did.
Which that takes time in this practice.
And it does take a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're 5 years in, as we shared on our last podcast, and still adapting our Sabbath and our life because of Sabbath.
Yeah.
But 1 day, 1 24-hour period every 7 days is the goal to practice the Sabbath.
Yeah.
Should we follow the Jewish day of Sabbath, or is Sunday a day of Sabbath? Someone else asked, Saturday or Sunday? And I would say the Jewish Sabbath is from sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday. So during the summertime, you start Sabbath later in the day on Friday and end it later in the day on Saturday. In the winter, you start it earlier on Friday and you end it earlier on Saturday. One of the great things I appreciate about that model of Sabbath is it takes the control out of your hands.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't get to decide in that model.
Mm-hmm.
I Sabbath when the sun goes down and I stop it when the sun goes down. And that changes. They literally are watching these days. An Orthodox Jewish person, they will know when the sun goes down because we can look on your weather app now. And they base their Sabbath off of that. It actually starts 30 minutes before the sun goes down and 30 minutes ends at 30 minutes before on the other side.
Yeah.
But a great part about that, it really does help you release control if you use that model, because you can't just say, well, we're starting it at 6 or we're starting it when we go to bed. It's when the sun goes down.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes then every single day. In the late 2nd century, after like I said earlier, in the late 2nd century, 200s AD, which actually is the 3rd century, most Christians had switched to Sunday. For the very decades in the early church, people followed the Saturday Sabbath. They switched it to Sunday because it was the Lord's Day. And then we ended up just following that. Again, the short answer is, what day should we follow? Any day. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, it's the discipline to practice it, not the day in which it's practiced. Right. And we've Sabbath on, I think, probably every day of the week.
Yeah.
We've Sabbath at least one time. Anything else?
Nope.
So there were a couple of questions that were like this next one. Does Sabbath have to be one full day, or can you instead break it into a couple hours each day? Also, is Sabbath an entire day or just a few hours in any day of the week? I would start by saying this. Start somewhere. Start by choosing one day and giving as much time as you can. Mm-hmm. Can you start with 2 hours? Can you give 4? Again, the goal is 24 hours. I would then say on the questions, can you split it up? I mean, if you're asking me, I would say no.
Yeah, that kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah. It should be on one day. And I would say, even if you can't start with a full 24 hours, try giving one day and as much time as you can, making your goal 24 hours.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah. No, I agree.
You agree. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Glad you didn't disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's the difference of a self-care day versus Sabbath?
That's a good question.
Any thoughts on that one before I give my thoughts?
Well, I can see why someone would ask that, because we say this is the only gift, you get to decide what's in it. So it is about you, but it is also about Jesus.
Yeah.
And what are you doing with him?
Yep.
And Jesus can be in your self-care day, but I don't know. I'd rather call it Sabbath.
Yeah. I thought of 2 words to answer the question. Like, what's the difference? Jesus and intentionality.
Yeah.
I'm intentionally setting aside this day, not just for myself, but a day to honor the Lord. And so that's why it's different to me. I think it can be the same day. Mm-hmm. You could say, I'm going to Sabbath, and as a part of that, it's self-care. I mean, I find great self-care in the Sabbath.
Yeah.
It will do wonders for your emotional health to Sabbath, like wonders. But I'm not doing Sabbath primarily for self-care. It's a byproduct of that. I'm doing it primarily to join the rhythm of creation, to honor what God has commanded, and to rest, delight in, and worship the Lord. Like that's the benefit is self-care, but that's not the primary reason I'm doing it. So Jesus and intentionality is the difference.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Explain the Sabbath difference between rest and relaxation. Another great question.
Yeah.
I mean, people ask some really good questions. To me, rest is about restoration. I can be relaxed and not necessarily be restored.
That's good.
And so that's the difference to me, is like literally setting aside this day to rest. Maybe a better word is to restore. Like I need my soul, my heart, soul, mind, and body restored, not just relaxed.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah. Well, it's deeper. It's going deeper.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
That's what you'd said earlier too, that people just weren't giving it.
Yeah, they didn't benefit from the depth of it.
Yeah. And so this Sabbath has depth to it, or at least it
should
have depth to it.
And man, as we've seen, again, 5 years in, the depth continues to get deeper. Mm-hmm. We discover new parts of Sabbath or new ways we want to Sabbath. And I think that it kind of grows and expands. When you first start, it's like anything else. I mean, our oldest grandson, Dakota, is walking now. Well, you don't start out walking by running a marathon, right?
No, he's very wobbly.
I just said today, I was like, why is it that elderly men and toddler boys look exactly the same when they're walking? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, because he's very wobbly. He falls down all the time.
His belly sticks out. Yeah. He's like got horrible posture. It's kind of funny. But like when he's walking now.
Yeah.
But there's some depth to walking that he will grow into.
Right.
The more he does it.
And the only way he can get better is by practicing.
You get more stable. You get more secure. You get more strong. You get more confident. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Sabbathing.
Yeah.
When you start, it's like having training wheels on a bike. Eventually, you want those training wheels to come off. And again, you can take that analogy as far as you want, but there's a depth to it. And so going back to the question, difference between rest and relaxation. Rest is about restoring.
Yeah.
And I can be relaxed without necessarily being restored. Make sense?
Well, yeah, because I think, like, after dinner and we get cleaned up, we go relax, quote unquote, in front of the TV.
Right.
It's not restoring us.
But it's relaxing.
But we're chilling. It's relaxing.
True.
But I'm not waking up the next morning like, oh my gosh, that hour in front of the TV was amazing.
Yes.
Like, it's not doing anything for me.
That's a great one. I just made me think of another thing that we did just recently that I thought was incredibly relaxing, but it was not restorative. We went to a Houston, Texans game with another couple in the church, and we had a blast. Mm-hmm. It was relaxing. It was exciting. It was when they played the Lions, and it was like a phenomenal game. Went into overtime. Texans ended up losing. I'm wearing my Texans sweatshirt today. I mean, it was amazing. It was what I would call a relaxing time because but it wasn't restorative. It wasn't restful at all.
There was a lot of people there.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was overstimulating.
Yes. But I wasn't stressed.
No, I wasn't stressed either.
It was, we had a blast. Mm-hmm. I would do it again. But it wasn't restful at all.
Right.
We were out late. We got home after midnight. Like, it was not restful, even though we would say we'd do it again. We love being with friends. It was relaxing as far as, like the environment itself wasn't relaxing, but we weren't stressed. We were relaxed. We were open. We were engaged.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun, but yeah, it definitely wasn't restorative.
No. And the Texans lost. Our doorbell just rang. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's just an Amazon package, I
think. Amazon is here. Probably something that we don't even know what's coming. That happens all the time. Sometimes I'll get a package and I'm like, what did I order?
Yeah, I know. You get to open it and see.
We're sickos. Americans are sick. Okay. We got like 3 more questions with this section. We're going to call this good. We're probably going to go section at a time.
Okay.
So the gist of this is that how we rest during the Sabbath is not a specific guideline, but rather an embracing mindset to recenter ourselves with God. Is that the gist of it? I would say yes and no. It is more than a mindset.
Yeah.
It is that, but it's more than that. It is a practice to stop, rest, delight, and worship. I'll repeat that again and again and again. Mm-hmm. It's the framework of the Sabbath. Stop, rest, delight, and worship. Stopping all of our normal work and activity to truly rest in, delight in, and worship the Lord. So it starts with a mindset, but it's way more than a mindset.
Right.
I think if you only view it as a mindset, you won't end up practicing it. You say, oh, I have the mindset of Sabbath.
Well, no. What does that even mean?
I don't know. But we need to differentiate between the two.
Like you're thinking about it?
Yeah.
But you're not practicing it?
Yes. And again, it goes back to intentionality.
Yeah.
So yes, that's why I said yes and no. That it's more about how we rest, not necessarily a specific guideline. But I don't want that to be someone's loophole.
Oh, sure.
To get out of in truly intentionally seeking to practice a 24-hour Sabbath where you stop, rest, delight, and worship.
Yeah.
Because then you can say, "Oh yeah, I'm resting," but you're not truly resting. That makes sense?
Yeah. I'm like, don't do that. Don't miss out on
Correct.
All the good.
Yes. So that's why it's yes and no. It's a mindset, but it should lead to an intentional practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
This is the question I started the podcast with, might be the best question out of everything we received. And I don't even know if I have a great answer for it. As one of the 10 commandments, is it really okay to try to Sabbath but fail? And then they said, I mean like thou shalt not kill, but oops. It seriously is a great question. Mm-hmm. We made a big deal about this being one of the 10 commandments.
Yeah.
And that is a big deal to me because we pretty much live with 9 commandments and one suggestion if you really want to follow it. No true, God-honoring, Christ-professing Christian says, just if you don't want to follow the murder one, don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or Dad, don't, be faithful to your spouse most of the time. But if if you have an affair, no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Sabbath one, it's like, Jesus did away with that one.
But he practiced it himself. So how does that not sink in?
So that's what makes it such a great question, because we don't really leave wiggle room. Yeah, put an idol on your shelf and worship it. We don't leave wiggle room for the other 9.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Sabbath one.
Why do we do that?
But even, so I'm saying that to us.
I know, me. I'm like, why did I do that?
So the question, is it really okay to try to Sabbath but fail? Because again, we wouldn't say, well, I'm trying not to murder people, but I keep on killing them. Because we ourselves, right now in our teaching are basically giving people permission to fail, air quotes.
Yeah.
Like, give 2 hours, give 4 hours. But if it's truly 24 hours, stop for a whole day, Jesus said. It's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a couple thoughts. Intentionality comes into play here, I think. I can't murder someone if I'm trying not to. That make sense?
Yeah. But
I can miss out on the Sabbath rest even when I'm trying to practice it. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. Because
not all 10 commands are equal in my mind as far as the way they play out. So if I truly say I'm trying not to murder someone, like I'm intentionally trying, I'm not going to murder someone.
Right.
I can't. But I can miss out on the Sabbath even when I'm intentionally trying to do it. So that's the intentionality part of it makes those 2 commands a little bit different.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then also this one. The Sabbath is the only spiritual discipline. I just thought about this when I was going over these questions, and I've never made this connection. Every other command is thou shalt not. The Sabbath is the only command that you do.
How does it start out?
You shall have no other gods before me. You shall worship the Lord your God. Let's see. Number 1, we've just begun. God should be first in your life. That's an old song.
Thanks, Papa
no
Gary.
idols. You have no idols. Number 3, God's name should be never spoken in jest. So you don't take the Lord's name in vain. Do not take the Lord's name in vain. Number 4, observe the Sabbath. Number 5, don't disobey your parents. Number 6, don't murder. Number 7, don't have an affair. It's adultery. Number 8, don't steal. Number 9, don't lie. Number 10, don't covet. All of them are do nots. The Sabbath is do.
Is the 5th one, doesn't it say honor your mother and father?
It might depend on what version you read, okay. But that's a thou shalt not disobey your parents.
Right. Interesting.
I think that's a big distinction.
Yeah.
Because to not do something, thou shalt not murder. I can obey that one. Thou shalt obey the Sabbath is a do, which leaves way more room for failing.
Yeah.
I think it's a big deal. Is that making sense?
Yeah, it is. It's just a lot to think about. I mean, I've never thought that way. Like, of course I'm not going to kill somebody. So, like,
again,
I've never, like...
Right.
I understand what they're saying. I just have never thought of it.
It helped me think through it.
Yeah.
That, like, not kill. Okay, I can do that one. stop for a full 24 hours to rest in, delight in, and worship the Lord. You shall not stop working on the Sabbath and intentionally rest, delight in, and worship the Lord. That leaves lots of room for struggle and failure and figuring it out. Again, going back to the walking illustration, it would be like telling Dakota, you have to walk perfectly because you started.
And then we just push him down because he didn't do it.
So it's the only spiritual discipline, spiritual practice. When somebody starts reading their Bible, we don't.
Yeah, we say just do one verse.
Yeah, do one verse a day.
You don't have to do any more than that. We're so lenient because we know it's hard.
So that to me is the difference with the Sabbath command. It is a practice, not an avoidance.
That's good.
Also, there is just not a lot of detail given on the Sabbath command in Scripture. That's where Jewish people came up with their 39 general categories of prohibitions on the Sabbath, and then a bunch of subcategories in those 39. And so we don't have a lot of detail on how do you observe the Sabbath. And
we don't want to be like the Pharisees,
right,
and take it so far the other direction.
So it is a phenomenal question. But I think to me, the difference is because it's a spiritual practice that there is this wide range of struggle in it that just doesn't compare apples to apples to thou shalt not murder.
Yeah.
It's just not, they're not equal.
Well, the consequence isn't equal and the grace isn't equal.
Yeah.
Even.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it's a great question. And that to me is the difference, is the thou shalt not versus the thou shall do is the difference, and why there's room for struggle. It goes back to the intentionality. Am I trying to do it?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I have a look on my face that says it doesn't make
sense?
Yes. I'm just listening. It's my listening face.
Okay. You and your brother have a listening face that is also known as something else I won't repeat on the podcast. But maybe you would, since you said crap from the platform on Sunday at church.
Oh, my Lanta. It runs in the family, okay? Right. I am listening. I'm listening. I'm thinking.
Do you have to pee? Like, you're really fidgety, like moving all over the place?
No, this is ADD. Okay. I can't sit still.
Right. I thought you had to pee or something.
No, I don't have to pee.
Couldn't wait to get out of here.
It's why I knit a lot, because it helps me.
Well, you should knit.
That's how I feel inside.
All right. We have one more question. What if our family is not hurried all the time and we say no to many things to not be overwhelmed? Is it okay to not Sabbath? Good question.
It is a good question.
These are all great questions.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I would say, great job.
Yeah, my goodness.
You are already doing what so many people are unwilling to do, which is slow down your life.
Yeah.
No is a complete sentence.
Yep.
It's okay to say no to some things. Second of all, though, I would say, no, it's not okay. Again, the Sabbath is about intentionally setting apart one day as different. It's holy, which means set apart. We stop, rest, delight, and worship. It is a day set apart to join the rhythm of creation and do what God has called us to do. So you're already way ahead in the fact that you live a slow life. But I would challenge you to set apart that one day as a different day. Our Sabbath day is different.
Oh, yeah.
Way different than any other day of our week. And it should be. And so that's why I would say it's not okay to not Sabbath. The Sabbath was made to meet the needs of people. There are needs in your life that are going unmet if you don't Sabbath. And you can choose to not have them met, but you're missing out.
It's like the light has been shined in to everybody that has watched the sermon series, attended church or whatever. So like now we all have to take responsibility. We all know now.
Yep.
It's, there's a big light on the fourth commandment and we have to decide what to do with it. And I'm like, why would you not
Yeah.
want to receive the gift now that you know?
That's exactly where I said that in the series. It boggles my mind how many Jesus-loving, Bible-believing Christians push back on the gift of the Sabbath.
Yeah,
it
on freedom.
Boggles my mind.
Like someone's giving you a gift every single week and you're like, I don't want to open it.
And not just somebody.
Like Jesus.
Yeah, the creator of the universe. It boggles my mind. It makes me sad.
I know I missed out.
Sad for myself and sad for people who are, for whatever reason.
For our kids. Yep. I'm sad we didn't raise them in this. Like,
so many people push back on this idea, and we're going to see that in the next set of questions that we'll do in the next episode. Not just the pushback, but just the general feeling of there's no way to do this. Like, how do you do this with all these XYZ, ABC, 1, 2, 3 reasons in life that are keeping us from it? It just makes me sad.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the hard part is the enemy obviously hates people practicing the Sabbath. And so he may ramp up. He may throw things at you. He may make things complicated. And that is part of accepting Jesus, is that we also have an enemy, and it's a spiritual warfare.
Yep.
And our enemy is not flesh and blood. And so it's something we might have to face, but man alive, it is worth it. Yep. Like, we have the same power living in us that raised Jesus from the dead. So we have the power to tell the enemy where to go, and we don't use that power that Jesus has given us. And we can tell him where to go and say, I'm Sabbathing, leave me alone.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Amen. So, I mean, I just made the note, like, we were already before Sabbathing living a really slow life as well. Like, we had put some margin in our life. And I think that's what helped us step into the Sabbath so quickly. But there were still so many things that we needed to change to truly set apart that one day.
Yeah.
And there was so much benefit we started to receive once we did it.
Yeah.
Like, we were living a slow life, so it helped us jump in quicker. But we realized, man, there is something about that day. You start to crave it.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, I'm this week, because of the busy week we had last week with travel and.
Yeah, we didn't Sabbath last week.
Yep. Well, and so I'm already looking forward to this week. Mm-hmm. I can't wait for Sabbath. That's how it is every single week.
Yeah.
It's my favorite day of the week. Mm-hmm. So anyway, to that family, great question. Way to go. You're already so far ahead of the game. I think you should still try to Sabbath.
Yeah, I agree.
And it'll be way easier for you because you're already living a slow life.
I know. So why wouldn't you?
Yep.
Open your gift.
Yep. You want to guess how long we've been talking about this one subject?
40-some minutes.
Well, there's some to edit out from before we started, but 53 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to end it here, folks. And like I say almost every time, we might have lost all of our listeners.
Nah, they like us for some reason.
So that's the theology of the Sabbath. Those were all questions that came in around what I would call the theology of the Sabbath. Next podcast, won't be next week probably, we will address what I would call practical questions about this, how-tos. What do you do with this? What about this? And we got a lot of those in, and they're, again, great questions. All of these are great. As always, you can ask questions at any time. You can email me at hello@jeffmanis.com. You can reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram. Just search our names. You'll probably find us. And if you would please like, rate, review, comment on the podcast, that would be fantastic. It helps spread the word.
Share it on social media.
We'll put it out there. That would be great. We want other people to be able to join us on the Naked Party Time podcast. Why don't we end like we always do with our marriage mission? We are united in Christ, unstoppable with Christ, and unbreakable because of Christ. Now it's time for you to go get naked
and party.
We'll see you on the other side. You've been listening to the Naked Party Time podcast. We hope that this has helped you be more real and raw in your life, leadership, or your love. Please like, rate, review, and comment wherever you see the podcast posted. We are so thankful that you are listening.